Of all the palettes I've used, this one is perhaps one of the most versatile. It's the Herring Compact. And it comes in two models. One of them has half pans and the other one has full pans. This is the full pan version, designed to take 12 colours and designed to have a thumb hole, whether you do it like this or this or this. The idea is you can use that to grip it. Now, I tend to fill that in, so I cut a piece of plastic and glue it in place so that I can put an additional 4 colours into there. And that is what I've used as a gouache palette for quite some years. Now, it's interesting to see how the plastic has yellowed over those years, but otherwise it's still working pretty well, except that the catch finally broke. The way I stick the plastic in the back, in this case I used what's called plumber's clay, and that enables me to put 16 full pans into this. And to hold it, I either use just holding it on its edge or underneath with my fingers, so the lack of thumb hole doesn't worry me. And having that slightly greater range of colours is great. I've also used it as my major sketching palette. So this is the one I take with me. At the moment it has almost the maximum number of half pans in it that it could have. So while a lot of my teaching is about working with limited palette, and I do, with any painting I might only choose a few of these colours, this has also got a few others that I've been exploring in order to create interesting triads. And there's also some in here that are special use pigments. So it's set up with 31 out of a possible 32 half pan colours. That's a lot, but I know my colours well, and so I can work with them. What's lovely about this is these deep, deep wells. This one has also been with me for a long time, and it has yellowed, and so I'm planning to renew it with a newer model. As far as I know, the plastic hasn't changed. I think it's the same substance, though what's interesting is how this sort of feels smoother. As far as I know, it's the same plastic, and you'll notice together, this is the Herring Compact in the half pans, and this is the Herring Compact in the whole pans. So W for whole, H for half. So I've filled the hole, and this is now really set hard, and it sets like concrete. It's very, very solid. So there shouldn't be any problem with this breaking or falling out. And what I do is just give it a light sanding. It's not going to take off everything, but it'll just take off a little bit of the excess. And I'll do the same on the back. Try not to scratch the palette. So I now have the palette. This is relatively smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to get filled up with paint. These are designed for full pans, but as you can see, the pans are pretty loose. And so I always put some blue tack in it so that it's nicely secured. And you don't need a lot. Another option is to use little sticky dots or something like that, but I just use blue tack because it's just easy. It doesn't seem to get mucked up with water, and I'm pretty neat in the way I paint. I don't tend to make a mess of palettes. And I tend to drag the brush to the right, so I'll stick them all slightly to the right because that's the way they're going to want to go anyway. Now, for those interested in the colours I've put in, this is what I've chosen. And I've partially filled all of these, and as they dry, I'm just stirring them up again to try and discourage them from cracking. And eventually, once they've totally dried on this level, I'll top them up and stir them again. Gouache palettes, I find you have to refill little by little so that they don't dry and crack. Sometimes I add a glycerin or something to them, but I don't think I need to with the Daniel Smith. So we'll see how they go. So that's the new herring palette set up with gouache. Now the other one, I've done the same process, so I've sanded this back a little bit. And these fit in really, really neatly. So they go in so well that they're actually a little difficult to get out again. Now occasionally one will tip out, but I find that they, just a slight push, they sit in so well generally that I don't stick those down with anything else. I just press them in. Whereas these ones, I will actually use a little bit of blue tack. And of course you can use this with a brush and have fewer colours, so just put these in, which is what I originally did. So there's a lot more colours here than I never need to use in any one painting. But I vary the triads that I use, or the various combinations I use, or the effects I'm looking for, and so I've ended up with quite a lot of colours in this travel palette. I'm not going to go through what they are, but this is more about the palette, but you can see that they'll sit in really nicely. So then I have a renewed palette. And on my website I show a number of other ways that you can set this one up, apart from this. I often arrange palettes going along this way, but this one I'm arranging the colours in this order because it just works for this palette. So when I have them set up with multiple rows and columns, rather than taking it around in a circle going through the rainbow, I'll go down through the columns. So this is the yellows, and then the reds, and then the blues, and so on. And if you're using this, it's actually very important that you know how to open it, because it doesn't open easily, and you have to press here. So you press there, and that will click open. And if you don't do that, you're going to break it, which is what someone did eventually with mine. So pressing there, and then you can lift that off. Otherwise, it's incredibly secure, so it doesn't come off, you know, whatever you do with it. So that's the herring, the half pan and the full pan set up for use.